If you want to play a game with your friend this weekend or even today and you're really looking for a good game on the Play Store, I'm sure you're going to find something you like in this video. We're going to talk about several different genres, famous games, and even some really underrated titles. So drop a like and come with me. Of course, we couldn't make this video without including a good survival game. Let's talk about RAFT. You've probably seen this game somewhere before because it became extremely popular. The goal of the game is survival, but you're stranded in the middle of a huge ocean. The interesting part is that you can play it in co-op. You can have up to 4 people playing with you, and unlike other survival games, this one can be pretty difficult. If you don't adapt quickly, the sharks will come and eat you. However, playing in co-op makes things a little easier. You can build a much bigger raft and also manage to survive for longer. It's definitely one of the best survival games to play in co-op. Currently, this game is in early access on the Play Store, but you can already play it normally. Let's talk about Ratchet and Clank Ranger Rumble. This is one of those shooting games where you need to eliminate as many enemies as you can. It's the first online game from Sony created specifically for mobile devices. The character Ratchet is very famous in the Sony universe, but this time there will be several other characters joining him. The game puts you in arenas against other players where you have to collect as many coins as possible. You have several different characters, several maps, and different objectives. It's one of those games that's perfect for playing with several friends. The interesting part is that this game was made to be played in multiplayer, and that changes everything. Let's talk about Sky, Children of the Light. Definitely one of the most famous games on the Play Store when it comes to playing with other people, whether you want to play with your friends or with random people inside the game. But one funny thing is that the game doesn't really have an objective for you to complete. You need to help other people while they help you at the same time. There are several things around the map that you need to find, and the map is completely open, so you can go wherever you want. The game doesn't have enemies. It's simply a relaxing game where you and your friends can explore the map however you want and of course play at your own pace. Horror game is definitely one of the best types of games to play in co-op with your friends, and we're going to talk about one called The Ghost. This game really doesn't waste much time. You can have up to 4 characters on your team, and you need to survive the ghost while also opening doors and solving some puzzles throughout the game. And it's not very different from other horror games, but this game is especially well known because of its really good co-op mode. Another thing the game does really well is the voice chat. It helps a lot with communication and of course gives you plenty of opportunities to have a good laugh while playing with other people. This is a pretty unknown game that was released some time ago, and surprisingly it's actually a good roguelike. Let's talk about TOREROWA. When it comes to the gameplay, there really isn't that much to say. You choose your character or your equipment, drop into a map, and have to survive for as long as possible in an almost endless roguelike format. However, since we're talking about a co-op game, you can actually win the game, but you need to find the door that allows you to leave the map. And as you can see, the game essentially works as a co-op experience. It will add 2 other characters to play alongside you. Since the game can go on forever, if you end up dying, you lose all of your items. The combat is interesting, and it's a pretty different game with this new co-op mode. If you want a more open-ended racing game to play with your friends, you need to try this one. It's called Off-Road League Online. If you know racing games, you probably know exactly how off-road games usually work. There are usually some races, but this game is different. You and your friends can take on several different types of jobs, from getting a stuck car unstuck to towing a truck that got stuck on the road. The best part is definitely the open world and of course playing with other people. The game also has a strong focus on co-op with several missions that you can complete together. And another thing this game does really well is the graphics. They look absolutely impressive. If you like playing GTA, especially those roleplay servers, we're going to talk about a really interesting game called One State RP. This is one of those games where you start with a character who has absolutely nothing and you slowly work your way up and build your life. The game is designed to feel much more realistic. For example, a police officer can stop you, but that police officer is also another player. The same goes for criminals as well as several other professions that you can find in the game. I think that out of all the roleplay games on the Play Store, this is probably the most populated one, and honestly it's really fun to play. And honestly, there's a great feeling that comes from starting with a character who works at the construction site, for example, and then after some time having your own house, a mansion and several cars. OVERDOX is a good PvP game and also a great game to play with other people, so let's talk about it now because it's pretty interesting. I think you could say that the game is also one of those last man standing games, but of course it has much more of an RPG feel to it. You need to level up your character, equip them with gear, and improve your abilities if you want to make it to the end and take down the last player standing, and of course it works like a battle royale. The game also has a co-op mode that works really well with up to 3 people, where you can try to survive for as long as you can. It's pretty simple, but you can end up getting addicted to the way you play it.
Special relics activated. Double kill. 3 survivors standing.
Of course, we haven't talked about an FPS game yet on our list, so let's talk about this one, which is new and interesting. It's called Pixel Gun 2. Yes, if you're wondering, this is basically the evolution of that game that became really popular a long time ago, Pixel Gun. The game was released recently and doesn't have many people playing it yet, but I have no doubt that this game is gonna blow up. This is the kind of FPS game where you know exactly what to do. Usually you have red versus blue, a bunch of weapons to choose from, and whoever gets the most kills wins. The game doesn't have powers or anything that could make it different. It's a classic FPS and it works really well. Racing Master is evolving in a really interesting way, and now is the perfect time for you and your friends to start playing it. Let's talk about it. In theory, the game would just be a normal racing game where you had to finish first against some NPCs and of course let you slowly upgrade your car. But the game has evolved quite a lot. It now has an open world for you to explore, you know, with several races and several cars, with more of a tuning style, and of course there's the co-op mode where you and your friend can race together but also explore the entire open map. The game has already promised several other things as well, and it could become one of the biggest racing games on the Play Store. That's because graphically it looks really good, and I'll tell you, it's actually pretty hard to find a flaw in this game. Identity Vi could basically be considered the Android version of Death by Daylight because it works almost exactly the same way, and of course we're going to talk about it now. The biggest difference in this game is the characters and the monster, but it still works in pretty much the same way. There are 5 survivors who are the players that have to survive, and 1 monster that is hunting all of them. All of the survivors are players, and the monster needs to take down every survivor. And if you're playing as a survivor, you need to open doors, escape from the monster, and solve some puzzles along the way to actually win. Honestly, I've never really found this game that interesting, but just like Death by Daylight, there are a lot of people who are absolutely addicted to it, and this game is no different. This is the famous giant robot game where you'll fight against several other players. Let's talk about MECH Arena. Well, just by looking at this game, you can already tell exactly how it works. It has a few different game modes like Team Deathmatch or Capture the Point, for example, which is pretty cool. And of course, there are several different robots that you can put on your team. Usually the team consists of 3 players. You have robots that are more focused on combat and can tank a lot of damage, or much faster robots that allow you to dodge attacks more easily, but they're also a little weaker. However, unlike FPS shooting games, the gameplay here feels a little more limited since you're playing as giant robots, and that's one of the biggest differences in this game. MOCO is one of those games that took a long time to release, but nowadays it's available on the Play Store. You can definitely consider this game a great co-op experience, so let's talk about it. Believe it or not, the game is classified as an MMORPG. That's because you can find other players inside the game and you can interact with them or simply ignore them. The goal of the game is to enter huge maps and defeat as many enemies as possible. The more enemies you defeat, the stronger your character becomes, but at the same time other players are doing the exact same thing as you. The game works kind of like a maximum number of characters you can defeat in order to win instead of having PvP, for example. It's a slightly different type of gameplay, but some people really like it. If you prefer more relaxing games, you definitely need to try this one because it's really good. Let's talk about MORIKOMORI. This is one of those farming style games, but the difference is that it works with a pretty cool co-op mode. The story is basically the same. You get a house and a farm from your grandfather, and when you arrive there, you need to fix everything up and take care of it so you can live in the community. Unlike other games on the Play Store, this one has a pretty interesting co-op mode. It also has a shared world where you can play alongside other players. Yes, it's true that there aren't many objectives for you to complete with your friend in this game, but just being able to enter their world is already a pretty good thing. Off the Road 2 has finally been released, and it's a game that lets you play co-op with your friends very easily. Let's talk about it now. Honestly, I don't think you can really call this game a racing game because there are so many different things you can do inside the game. Of course, in co-op you can race against your friend, for example, but usually you'll be doing some kind of job. You can transport trucks from one place to another, deliver items, and get paid for doing it. With the money you can buy other cars, houses, boats, and even airplanes. But what impresses me the most about this game is the open world. The open world is impressive, and so is the co-op mode with up to 4 people. If you like playing basketball and want to play an interesting game with your friend, you should know that something like this exists. Let's talk about Dunk City. To be honest, I don't know much about basketball, the rules, or exactly how it works, but to me, this game is very different because it feels much more like street basketball than regular NBA basketball. For example, there can be up to 3 characters, and you can add your friends, with each person controlling one character. You can play both in offline mode and in PvP mode. Another cool part is the characters. They're all pretty different and have different characteristics, but they're not the famous NBA players. The truth is that even though it's not exactly an original basketball game, I'd say this game is definitely worth trying. Now I want you to imagine a battle royale, but in a 3D and medieval setting. Let's talk about Golden Glory. The game was taken off the Play Store, and I don't know exactly what happened, but it really came back much stronger. And yes, that's exactly what you heard. You drop into a map and have to become the last survivor. But this time there are no guns, open maps, or wars. You're basically inside a dungeon and you have to survive both the NPCs and the other players who want to take you down. In the game you have more than 3 classes to choose from, and since it's a battle royale, it also works really well as a co-op game with up to 3 people. Only people who played this game at its peak know how good it really is, and surprisingly it still feels pretty much the same. Let's talk about Gunbound Mobile. If you think about it, this game is basically a turn-based RPG, but of course it has a completely different concept where you control little vehicles and have to shoot your enemies to take them down. The real difficulty comes from aiming. You usually have to shoot upwards and make your shot land on your enemy, which can be really difficult sometimes. But that's not all. There are several different vehicles. Some are much stronger at close range, while others have shots that can go as underground, for example, and there are even vehicles whose shots are heavily affected by the wind. And the most interesting part is that you can even play matches with up to 4 players against 4. HORROFIELD is a pretty classic horror game that you can play with up to 5 friends. Let's talk about it now. The game follows a pretty familiar style where you choose a type of survivor while usually another player becomes the hunter, and you have to try to survive. There's one thing that makes this game a little different. There are different characters. For example, you have a basketball player who can use an ability to run much faster for a certain amount of time. You also have a doctor character, or a character who can solve puzzles more easily. And of course, another thing that changes the way you experience the game is the fact that it has an isometric perspective. It's a game that usually has quite a lot of people playing, and of course if you like horror and survival games, it's a good choice. And of course, this is definitely one of the best kart racing games you can find on pretty much every platform. Let's talk about Disney Speedstorm. And when I say you can find it everywhere, I'm not joking. The game is available on pretty much every platform, including Android. There isn't much to reinvent with this game either. It's basically like Mario Kart, where you need to finish first. You have items that you can pick up and throw at your enemies. The difference is that you'll be racing with all kinds of Disney characters, from the most famous ones like Mickey, for example, to newer ones like the characters from Inside Out. And of course, this isn't some simple little kart game. As you can see, it's really well made and feels a lot more like a normal racing game. I could talk about a lot of MOBAs here, but I want to talk about this one because it's very different. Let's talk about Ancient Stars. I know you probably already know other MOBAs and know how to play them, like Mobile Legends. But this game managed to innovate quite a bit by bringing a MOBA with just 1 lane and only 3 characters. That means a normal MOBA usually lasts around 15 to 20 minutes, while this one will last a maximum of 7 minutes. The game already has around 15 characters for you to choose from, and it's currently pretty hyped, with a lot of people discovering the game. It's really good for learning how to play, and at the same time, you'll pick it up very quickly if you've already played a game in this style. ASTRO Arena was recently released and is pretty hyped right now with a lot of players. It's also a great game to play, so let's talk about it. This is a game that usually has 3 versus 3 matches with several different characters, and it's completely focused on PvP. There are a few different game modes like Team Deathmatch, which is the most common one, but right now a lot of people are playing the mode where you have to push a cart all the way to the enemy's base. The interesting part is the characters. You have melee characters that are much harder to play, as well as characters that use weapons with very long range. However, at the same time, the game can be a little difficult to play because you don't have attack buttons. You can only attack when your character is standing still. This gives the game a completely different dynamic, and it works really well. And just to give you an idea, this game is so hidden that it doesn't even appear on the Play Store, but I included it here for another reason. Let's talk about BEASTRIA. As you can see, it's an extremely lightweight game. It's less than 50 megabytes, and it also has quite a few features. You can play it alone, or you can have up to 4 people on a team with you. You could describe it as a more traditional survival game, similar to Minecraft, for example. The main focus of the game is making sure your character doesn't starve to death, while also taking care of several other things. However, my friend, compared to Minecraft, this game has an insane level of difficulty. Just to give you an idea, I played it around 10 times and couldn't even make it past the first night, so if I were you, I'd give this game a try. It's really lightweight and it works really well. After being delayed for so long, this game is finally here. It's a great co-op game, so let's talk about Destiny Rising.
The water here seems to be flowing somewhere deeper.
Maybe we should follow it.
This might be the heaviest game on our list so far because, as you can see, it looks really good graphically, and of course it has a lot of things for you to do. I think you could basically describe the game as a sort of FPS and co-op experience where you travel to other planets and take down a bunch of crazy aliens. Of course, the game can get pretty difficult, and the maps are huge. You need to know exactly what you're doing, and there are boss fights that are almost impossible to beat if you don't know the right trick. But of course, Daddy, that's exactly what makes it worth playing, because it's a really well-made game. Imagine a car game where you can do whatever you want. That's the idea behind Drive Zone Online, and that's what we're talking about now. There are actually several things you can do in this game. For example, you can play as a taxi driver, become a police officer, or simply race normally to earn money. But the truth is that a lot of people end up just playing its free roam mode, which is basically a mode where you don't really have a specific objective. You just race from time to time or make some friends along the way. It's also a good game to play casually, especially if you don't want to have a specific objective in the game, but of course if you do want that, the game still has plenty of things for you to enjoy. And that's it for today. These were 25 of the best online and multiplayer games you can find on the Play Store. If you found a new game to play with your friends, leave a like and subscribe for more. See you in the next video.